Dave the Diver is an exploration RPG developed by Mint Rocket and is available to play across all consoles and PC. It features deep sea diving along with many other elements such as farming, restaurant management, and even boss fights. This seemingly simple game is jam-packed with more content than you could possibly imagine. In this 3D pixelated adventure, you'll play as Dave the Diver, who has been pulled out of his holiday to help out an old friend. You'll make your way over to this little lagoon where you'll venture into the depths at the request of this friend in order to start a sushi restaurant. While all seems well, you'll have quite the story ahead of you with mysterious earthquakes, underwater civilizations, prehistoric predators, pirates, and more. While all of this is going on, you'll also need to manage said restaurant, dealing with critics and challenges, all the while supplying fish for the menu. I really enjoyed this story. There were quite a few twists and turns along the way with some shock factor moments that made the game enjoyable and kept me interested right up until the very end, which is not an easy task. This game offers quite a unique blend of gameplay as you'll need to alternate between underwater exploration and restaurant management. During the day, you'll go on diving trips where you'll need to navigate through the deep ocean while managing your oxygen as you catch fish and fend off predators. Initially only having access to shallow waters, as you upgrade your equipment, you'll be able to dive deeper and deeper, eventually discovering some interesting ruins and creatures. Although you'll spend much of your time diving during this game, to my surprise, I never actually found it getting repetitive or boring. I put this down to the fact that as you upgrade your equipment and progress through the story, you'll essentially be able to travel further and further down, uncovering new places, new fish, and new quests. Even when you think you've explored as far as you can, there is always more to this game. As you dive, you can catch fish, which you'll need to supply to the sushi restaurant. I admit I found it a bit tough to get the hang of at first. The controls were a bit tricky to juggle, as well as getting enough distance from those vicious fish, and I found myself dying quite a few times early on. After some upgrades to my oxygen, which also acts as a sort of health bar, and finding better weapons, I found I eventually did get the hang of it and even found it rather easy. Alongside this, the action to actually catch the fish is quite quick, especially as you upgrade your equipment. So while you do need to catch quite a lot of fish during your first half or so of the game, again, it doesn't feel repetitive. When you do kind of get to that point where you need a lot of fish, or at least the rarer and harder to catch fish for more money, the game introduces new elements such as fish farming to help with that. Not only can you find fish while diving, but various materials for both upgrading equipment or cooking, and this is also where you can find new guns to use. I found this part a little bit confusing at the beginning, but essentially whatever weapons you happen to find while diving is what you get to use until you can eventually unlock the blueprint that will let you start off with that type of weapon. And there's quite a few to choose from as well. There's darts, harpoons, and even these really adorable squeaky hammers. As you play, you'll uncover so many things that add so much more gameplay. I was actually really surprised at just how many things I unlocked and all the extra things I could do as I continued to play. Even near the end of the game, you're still unlocking new areas and new things. So while all of this is unfolding underwater, above water you'll need to manage your restaurant, utilizing ingredients gathered during dives to craft dishes and serve customers. As you increase your restaurant status, special customers will appear and you'll have to win them over by cooking them a unique dish. Which brings me to the characters of this game. There are so many amazing personalities to meet here. Each character has their own sort of weird quirk, such as your weapon dealer is this anime-loving geek. You've got a uni student who cannot be asked to get her own photos, so she makes you do it. There are just so many funny characters here, and it's just really fun to get to know them. As you progress, eventually you'll come across an ancient civilization which will open up a whole new area of gameplay, introduce new quests, characters, additional farming, and more. On top of this, you also have your gun upgrades to work towards, as I mentioned before, along with a fish Pokédex to complete, gathering quests, new restaurant dishes to purchase. The list goes on and on. Towards the end of the game, you'll almost struggle to do everything you want in a day, giving it that addictive edge. I will note that I found the start of the game to have quite the learning curve. The controls while diving took me a bit to get used to, and there's a lot of menus and selections in the restaurant part of the game that left me quite a bit confused to begin with. I had to play around a lot with that part to understand what everything did. There are also boss fights here, and they are so epic. While they can be tough as well, I never found them unbeatable, simply that I needed to get used to the attacks and eventually I'd have no problem killing the enemy, even the ridiculously intimidating ones. I also just love the fact that while there's a huge focus on the restaurant management and the fishing aspect to this game, they don't hold back on the NPCs themselves. You can still really get to know these people and uncover some really interesting backstories. So overall, just a really well-rounded game. Dave the Diver is an excellent indie game that offers way more than meets the eye. Despite that initial information overload and learning curve, I found this game so rewarding with its rich and immersive gameplay. I think for players seeking a good blend of exploration, strategy, and a great story, this one is such a must-play title that offers so many hours of entertainment. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!